Peace, peace. This is Brother Faheem, and you are now tuned in to the Leave of Logic podcast. You know the vibes. Peace, 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 peace. Welcome back, welcome back. I'm your gracious and humble host, Brother Faheem, and you are now tuned in to the Leave of Logic podcast. Man, life is always moving at a ultramagnetic pace. I just try to keep my boots laced so that I can always win the race. Hopefully, you guys are having a great week, man. A great start of your week. It doesn't. What they say is Blue Monday, but it really doesn't have to be. Man, you can make it Red Monday. You can make it Yellow Monday. You can make it whatever type of Monday that you like, man. It's all with your mentality, right? Your reality is no more than your mind turned inside out. So, um, yeah, man. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys. Um, we are actually live right now. There's no one in here, but uh, I'm going to call some people in here, right? I'm gonna call some people into existence to come in and sit and chat with us. So this topic that we have going on right now, it's very, 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 very uh critical. It's very important, and it's an extension of one of the bills that I did a while back, right? And so whoever that is, that army of one, go into the comments, man. If you go into the comments and acknowledge yourself, I'll acknowledge you. If you talk, I'll talk back. You feel me? I'll talk back to you. So let me set some stuff up on here. Let me get some people in here. Let's see what the word is. Johannesburg. Yeah, we'll see what the word is, man. We got a little bit packed in for you guys. Yeah, we got a little bit. Yeah, if you put whoever that is, if you acknowledge yourself in the comments, man, I can get with you. You dig? And also wherever you are, man, wherever you are, invite some people. If you're on Facebook, share it out. If you're on uh obviously if you're on YouTube, send the link out. Grab a friend and tune in, man. The more the merrier. The more the merrier. I'm just setting up some things. And we'll let some people get into the room. Yeah, welcome, welcome, welcome. Y'all come on in. Say something into the chat. Post up who you are so I can shout you out. I appreciate you being here. You could have been anywhere else in the world right now, but you rocking with Brother Faheem. And I appreciate that, man. I really do. Yeah, I'm setting some stuff up, sending some notifications out. Y'all just sit tight, sit with me. Like I said, man, type it in the comments and I'll make sure to shout you out. And then I can know who it is, right? Who that is talking, man. Who it is viewing. I appreciate y'all though. I appreciate you. So let me set this up. Let me set it up. Let me set it up. Let's see. Let's see. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? All right. All right. Yeah. We're an army of one. It's all good. It only takes one person to change the world, right? It only takes one person to change the world. So cut the chat off. Never let me cut the chat off in here, man. I be wanting to cut the chat off. I'm like, damn it, whatever. Hold on. Here we go. Here we go. Let's do this. Let's do this. Y'all bear with me. Bear with me. Watch party. That's what it is. Yeah. Give me 1 second, good person. That army one, I'm getting right. Like I said, I'm setting it up, so don't go nowhere. Episode holy. I'm right with you. All right, bet. Turn my mic off. Invite the good people. Yes, I'm still here. I'm still here. Still here. Still, I'm just getting people into the live, spreading the love, trying to spread the love, let people know that I'm here. Just trying to let people know where I am for sure. Yeah. Yes, Lord. Like I said, hopefully everybody's day, the beginning of everybody's week has been awesome. And if it wasn't, man, you can make the rest of the week whatever you want it to be, right? Yeah, we're going to rock out just here in just a second. Just 1 second, y'all. Just a sec. Just a sec. Just a second. I'm almost done, good people. Almost done. Let's see. Almost done. Almost done. Almost almost finished. So let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Yes. Yeah, I'm getting ready. I'm getting ready to get started right now. Yeah, I see you. I see you. Keith, I'm gonna make you a moderator. Is that cool?
Yeah, that's cool, man. That's cool,
You
man. I
can.
appreciate that.
Yeah, no, you can, because I'm gonna be doing my thing. So you can make sure ain't no ain't no no undesirables, doing nothing crazy.
Okay, will do.
Yep, you know what to do, Keith. I ain't got to tell you what to do. You know exactly what to do.
Oh man, I appreciate
So, yes, 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 man. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Listen, man, I am so. Hey, man, I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all being patient. Yeah. So, what happened? What happened? So, this is a part of a series, man. Right? It's part of a concept that I had brought out, and I was trying to, speak on and speak about and teach a little bit about. Right? um, the holy trinity of capitalism, right? It's three things within capitalism that we all have to go through, that we all exposed to, and it's so strong and it's so impactful. It affects every part of our lives. So, um, I figured I would come on and talk about it. A couple of weeks back, I was speaking about um, the food industry and and how food, uh, how food how food affects us, how food affects us. And so, man, food does affect us. It affects us big time. And so, that's not the only thing. It's a continuum, right? It's all relative. And so, you have food, you have the healthcare industry, because once you begin to now eat crazy and eat bad, then you're gonna be ushered into the healthcare industry, right? Um, and after that, after the healthcare industry, they hook you up with those pharmaceuticals, right? That's what I observe. That's what I observe in my family, right? Diabetes, hypertension, cancer, all of these things. And I'd be thinking, like, damn, how do I avoid that? What's the resolve? What can I do for myself so that I don't end up over there like the rest of my people, how they ended up? So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, if you knew better, you would do better. So I'm always trying to do better. But yeah, um so I lined up a few things. Like I said, I have a few articles that I want you guys to see that we're gonna go over. Um, yeah. So, and whoever that is in the chat, whoever that army of one is in the chat, man, if you put something in the comments, hey, I'll talk back to you. I'll respond to you. Any questions that you might have. And I'm doing two things at once. I'm juggling. I never was good at juggling, but I'm starting to be Keith. I can hear you. What's going on? Can you hear? Is the audio good? I see you. I see you, Kai. I see you positively. Is the audio good, bro?
Let me see. No, no, it's not. Okay, so you did this prior, as far as this video,
Mm-mm.
or are you talking at the same? Okay.
I'm talking at the same time. But listen, do this, y'all. If y'all can't hear me, just go over to my YouTube and jump on right there. You can always jump on the YouTube. Go to the YouTube. Yeah. If y'all can't hear, just go on over to the YouTube. Y'all know to go to my profile, and the YouTube link is in the profile, and then you'll be able to hear it and see it good.
Okay, cool. We'll do that.
I'll close it down then, Keith, if it's not acting right.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's not acting right. So I'll go to your YouTube
Okay.
and check it out.
I'm sorry about that, y'all. Doing two things at once, y'all. Doing two things at once. But like I said, that holy trinity in capitalism, right? You got the food industry, right? Where it's food, but it's not nutrition, right? It's not anything that's going to help us, right? It's not going to help us live, right? By and large, you get these. We have food deserts. We have places where they serve us foods in the United States that they do not, that they are banned in other countries, right? All that good stuff. What's going on? I see you, Keith. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Bring some people in with you, Keith. Tell everybody about it. But man, so we have all of these things with the food. We rarely get nutrition, and it has an effect on us, right? And that's what I spoke about a couple of weeks back. But today, the next phase of that is obviously when you are now uh, rendered. Uh, uh, when you succumb to all of the toxins, to all of the bad food, to all of the malnourishment and ill nourishment that you have been exposed to since you were a child, you now are certain, you're most certain to wind up in the medical field. So my thing was, listen, we live in a capitalist structure. How does that affect our health? How does that affect the medical field? What type of impact does it have on the medical field? So I brought a few items for you guys to read. Well, I'm gonna read it to you guys. A couple of articles. And like I said, on here on the Leave of Logic podcast, we use logic. We use articles, peer reviewed journals. We use different pieces of information that would back up whatever my point is, right? And so I am going to go to med page today, and hopefully the people will come in. Hopefully they'll come right on in so they can get a they can so they can jump in on this knowledge. Yeah, so they can jump in on the knowledge. So yeah, here we go. Here it is right here. All right, all right, all right. So yeah, this is an article. The mid page today, right? You guys can go to this. Obviously, you can probably get a subscription and get a lot of their different articles and see what's going on, the periodicals. But it says capitalism versus compassion, right? Now I'm gonna scroll down a little bit. Now we're not gonna read that, but basically what it is, I'll give you a brief synopsis. What the first few paragraphs are, it's just a doctor's visit, right? And it really emphasizes how um, bad bedside manners has become a thing in the healthcare field. And you wonder, okay, how did it get this way? Why are we treating patients like a number? That's essentially the morale of that tale, right? But it's just something that I wanted you guys to see. I want to read something to you. So here it is. These facts have consequences. According to a survey by the National Partnership, and I know I'm jumping down, y'all, bear with me, by the National Partnership for Healthcare and Hospice Innovation, more than 82% of Americans believe the U.S. healthcare system puts priority over patients, right? Healthcare workers enter the field to help patients, and patients expect us to help them. They want to be heard. They want us to listen. They want to be treated equitably with compassion and ultimately to feel better. Compassionate care involves acknowledging the emotional distress, and suffering of others, along with acting to improve their situation through motivation and relational efforts. Right? That is not happening in the U.S. today, and it won't. Y'all see that where I am right here? And it won't happen until regulatory controls are used as a check on our capitalist system to do better, to better balance profits with the needs of our patients. In other words, it's more about money than it is about helping the customers, right? Helping the patients. Um, a real quick anecdote before I get to this next one. I can remember when I was getting out of the Air Force, the last commander's call I went to, I'm sitting in the back and they have all these stats up there about uh, lawsuits, right? Medical lawsuits. And I remember the commander said, does anybody know what the what we get sued for the most. And I'm thinking to myself, it's got to be medical malpractice, right? Somebody come in to get a kidney removed and y'all chop a toe off. It's got to be it. Actually, it was bad bedside manners, right? He's like, no, people start raising their hands. He was like, it's actually bedside complaints. People don't feel heard. And I'm saying that to say within capitalism, what you're going to find in these uh, articles that I'm reading, that's one of the copyrights, right? That's one of the trademarks in capitalism, right? Because again, you're a number. You're not even a person, and so we don't treat you as a person. It's just a write it off. It's a standard, standard issue. Hey, this is what we're seeing next. This is what you need next, and that's not a great quality of care. So now, going on to the next, high cost and low quality, right? According to CMS, healthcare spending in the U.S. increased 2.7% to 4.3 trillion in 2021. That number represents 12,914 per individual of 18.3% of the nation's total economy. Yet, despite the highest cost per person for healthcare, care is not administered evenly, and Americans experience worse healthcare outcomes than their peers around the world. U.S. life expectancy at birth was 77 years in 2020, 3 years lower than the average for other industrialized countries. Excuse me, I'm sorry, y'all. But look at that. Americans experience the worst healthcare outcomes. This is crazy. Um, Many physicians and nurses attribute burnout to the increasing corporatization of medicine, where companies prioritize profits over patients. Half of nurses are considering leaving the profession. Activists have criticized hospitals for both for profit and not for profit for shutting down their services in underserved communities. Patients and doctors are happy with the exorbitant prices of medications and prior authorizations. Meanwhile, insurance companies earn massive profits. In 2022, United Health's revenues grew to 36.6 billion, or 13% from 2021, while hospitals and physicians face decreasing reimbursement. So clearly, the corporations have been profiting. That's what the numbers are telling us. The corporations have clearly been profiting. That is crazy. And it goes right in. You see, it goes right into, and I'm just reading this. This is a mid-page today article where they're talking about capitalism and how capitalism is affecting, um, the medical field, right? Are capitalism and compassion at odds? The truth is, the U.S. system is doing exactly what it was supposed to do: generate profits. Wow, look at that. Capitalism is founded on the ownership of private property, self interest, competition, freedom to choose, and limited government. Adam Smith famously said, "It is not from the benevolence of the butcher, the brewer, or the baker that we must expect our dinner, but from their regard to their own interest." Right? So, in other words, we can't expect these professions within a capitalist structure to be thinking about anybody except themselves. Now, that's scary, brothers and sisters, when you think about all the things that are necessary. Not because we're not all the things that are necessary in in a medical field, all the care, all the consideration, all the concern. If what Adam Smith is saying is true, and the article just said it is, then hey, we really can't expect the medical field to be about patients. It's all about money, right? It's all about profits. And he just said that the guy who created capitalism just said, man, it's not at their goodwill. They're not helping you. You can't expect them uh, 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 to help you because they want to do it. They're helping because they have their own self interest, right? And these corporations are no different. They have their self interest, but it reflects to the little people. I'm going to read what it says about that. It's reflective of our care, right? How we get taken care of. Let me check this chat real quick because I know a couple people came in. And I want to say I appreciate y'all if y'all come in and wrote something. Okay. Positive Lens, what's going on? Well, I see you. I see you. Wow, this is very interesting info. Absolutely. 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 I think you're absolutely right there. You're absolutely right there. And I appreciate you coming by. So, um, right. So just moving down just a little bit. We're gonna go out before I go to the next one. I want to read something because this was a healthcare worker, and they were actually in. Uh, they were in agreement. They didn't necessarily. They understood how capitalism works, like they said. Stating or citing Adam Smith saying, hey, all of these professions are looking in their best interest, and the system capitalism is working in the way that it's supposed to work, and the medical field is doing exactly what it's supposed to do, make profits. But I wanted to go down here, and I wanted you guys to see something at the end. These are some of those bullet points that can help change and get us a balanced approach, right? Providers understand the financial system, right? Everybody's not doesn't have insurance, and everybody doesn't have the money for insurance. They're working poor people out there, right? That have to work just to be poor. There's alignment on what we believe are fundamental patient and healthcare workers' rights, right? Lawmakers support healthcare as an infrastructure investment. Federal and state government apply reasonable regulations that level the playing field, preventing monopolies while promoting innovation. Monopolies are always going to cause uh, an imbalance because once one group gets in a monopoly, who's there to now compete with them price wise or quality wise? There's nobody. So now it's like, hey, I can do what I want to do. I don't have to offer quality because I'm the only game on the block. We shift financial incentives away from quantity of care to quality of care. We support payment models that incentivize cost containment while improving outcomes. This is what I wanted y'all. This is what I wanted to read y'all. I went through all that to say this. Capitalism clearly has significant benefits for healthcare, right? But capitalism without appropriate levels of regulatory control results in unequal treatment, hospital closures, clinic clinician burnout, ignored patients and families, and an erosion of the social contract. Doctors take that social contract where they swear to help their patients, they swear to look out for their patients, they swear to always work in the patient's best interest. But what this is saying is if capitalism is running amok, all of that stuff goes out the drain. It goes out the window and down the drain. And I would deduce that's exactly what we're seeing. Now, this is the first article. Again, that's the mid page, y'all. Y'all can, all of these resources are out there for you guys to look at for yourself. That's on the mid page. And that was written by N. Adam Brown, an MD, MBA. That was April 22nd, 2023. So that was a MBA, a MD that wrote that shared. And so, yeah, man, let me see who we got some more people up in here. Let's see. It's Danny Marie. Hey, 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 blessing kings and queens. What's going on, Danny Marie? What's going on? Why don't you, Danny Marie, go get the people that y'all go get the people that in fan base and tell them come on over. I started off the watch party, but it was acting up. It was tripping. Keith couldn't we could they couldn't hear me, so I'm over here doing my thing. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button so that you can always get notified when I'm going live. And also, you'll see it's not just a podcast, it's a brand as well. And y'all can get right on behind the brand. I don't know if I said this earlier, but Leave of Logic stands for letting enlightenment and divinity win in this harsh level of God's infinite creation. So, yeah, y'all going over there. Now, listen, the next article, it deals with capitalism in a more sobering way. It doesn't give as many examples from the field of medicine, but it does give an overarching uh, understanding, and it gives different examples in that way. So I'm gonna follow me, follow me. I appreciate y'all being here. I appreciate y'all being here so that y'all can be included in the bill. Yeah, be included in the bill. And so this is from the University of Notre Dame, right? It was written Contemporary Concerns in Medicine, a blog for students in contemporary concerns in medicine to share their ideas and musings on health, medicine, and society. So this is from the students over at Notre Dame. But there's some kind of academic integrity that they have to have. When you write in college and you're going to publish it, that college also always says, hey, we got to make sure that this is something credible and it's just not a barbershop, a beauty salon, a chatter, right? Because you're going to make us look bad doing that. Um, so yeah, they have sources in here, things that you can check. This was interesting, right? Capitalism's overreach in medicine. As economic inequality in the USA has deepened, so too has inequality in health. Dickman said that. I thought that that was very, very insightful. As someone, this is what it says, as someone who is a firm believer in capitalism, it naturally makes sense to me that different sectors of our economy, like healthcare, should be able to function properly under a capitalistic model. However, when reflecting on our course, it is clear that our capitalistic market has led to some gaps, particularly in regards to medical care. We can see these gaps in the inequalities across different races, wealth groups, and genders. And while I still believe that capitalism is the best market structure, I think it struggles to work the way that it should in the case of medicine, right? That's something different from what they said on the med page, because in the med page, they said, hey, it's working exactly the way it's supposed to. But I digress and get back into this. Um, our society has likely overextended capitalism, and we may need to seriously reconsider it if it is the best structure for medicine, right? And it goes on capitalism in the current structure of healthcare. Currently, the U.S. healthcare system is composed of a mixture of public and private insurers and healthcare providers, some of which operate for profit and some nonprofit. The U.S. healthcare system also includes government sponsored programs like Medicare and Medicaid that helps groups receive medical care. As of 2018, 92% of the U.S. population was estimated to have insurance coverage, which leaves 27.5 million people, or 8.5%, of the population uninsured. Part of this lack of insurance can be attributed to the rise in healthcare expenses, as costs in the U.S. grow between 4.2% and 5.8%. That inflation is killing us annually. Because of the capitalistic structure, medical care in the U.S. functions almost like a monopoly instead of perfect competition, where costs can continually rise unopposed as medical providers and insurance companies control the market. That's what I was saying. When you have that monopoly, there is no incentive of the people who are now in control of the monopoly to offer any type of quality product. What's my incentive? What do I have to do? I mean, why is this a thing? I mean, I own it. I'm cornering the market. So now that goes into a couple of negative effects, right? The evidence as to why a capitalist market does not work well in regards to medicine is seen when looking at the disparities across racial groups, wealth, and gender. Based on our current model, many people need to work to gain insurance and afford medical care. However, this pressure this pressures people to continue working even when they are sick. During the COVID-19 pandemic, certain essential workers were deemed so necessary to our economic function that they could not stop working. In most of these instances, these essential workers were racial minorities, right? Our extreme focus on production and economic growth has led Latinx food and agricultural workers experiencing a nearly 60% increase in deaths compared to prior years. Because we want to continuously grow, we have let the medical needs of workers shift to the background, which has disproportionately affected people of different races. Thus, the capitalist model has led to a large gap in medical care for certain groups. I'm going to go back. It says, uh, essential workers are racial minorities, right? Because we want to continuously grow, we have let the medical needs of workers shift to the background, which has disproportionately affected people of different races. Different specters of society include different ethnic groups, right? And it's always been that way in America. When Black people migrated from the South to get away from Southern terror and to get better opportunity, they oftentimes went into uh, the warehouse, they went into the stockyards, they went into all of these different areas of production that included massive work, a collective of people working, and the conditions weren't always the best, right? And so what happened was later on down the line, this is before OSHA, right? The Occupational Safety Hazard Association. You had people falling dead. You had people having chronic illnesses that they got. It's still the same way because again, we're still up under a capitalist society. We still live in a society that, like this is saying, who have let the medical needs of workers shift to the background, which is which has disproportionately affected people of different races. So whatever uh, type of work that we do now massively by ethnic group, capitalism is trampling it because now you have no medical uh, considerations for these people, right? Because again, you're pushing more product, you're pushing more production, you're not pushing health, you're not pushing for the people who are doing the production work to even live a longer, healthier, better lifestyle. Again, this is all vestiges. These are all aspects that bind and hinder us up under this capitalistic structure that we live in. The negative side effects of capitalism in healthcare can again be seen in wealth disparities. The large economic inequality in the US has now bled into health disparities as wealthier Americans have a life expectancy that is now 10 to 15 years longer than poor Americans, right? Geography has played a large role in this as many healthcare providers work in cities or larger suburbs. This follows basic supply and demand functionality in capitalism. The increased demand for healthcare in more densely populated areas, coupled with the higher likelihood of patients being able to afford or obtain their own private insurance, has led to the greater supply of doctors in these areas. So people aren't even getting service based on their income and also based on the supply and demand of a geographic location. You know, in different countries, I want to say Canada, they have free healthcare. Now they get taxed for other things, but it's something to be said about a country that at least says, you know what, our citizens need at the very basic level, they need to be able to have. And I know we have Medicaid and Medicare, absolutely, but they need to be able to have an untaxed, a non fee. They don't need to have anything. They don't need to have any fees. People can get surgeries over there. People can do all kind of things over in Canada medically. Again, they get taxed in other areas, right? There's a balance that is included in that. But healthcare is something that is universally necessary for us all. So to charge people and to then exercise those capitalist uh, tenets and let that be one of the deciding factors to who gets access to healthcare is diabolical, brothers and sisters. That's cynical. But that's what this article is telling you. It's not what Brother Faheem is telling you. It's what the article is telling you. The increased demand for healthcare in the more densely populated areas, coupled with the higher likelihood of patients being able to afford or obtain their own private insurance, has led to the greater supply of doctors in these areas. Yet, there's still a large population of people who need medical care in more rural areas, which demonstrates that a capitalist market may not be the most efficient when it comes to healthcare. Um, yeah, maybe it's not because it's under all of the controls. Capitalism in medicine has even extended into the creation of products and marketing campaigns to deal with natural body processes, especially for women. This is evident in the creation of hormone treatments and medications to help women during menopause. Many feminists view this as a superfluous product designed to keep women sexually available and conventionally attractive. Because we have allowed a capitalist structure to take over medicine and medical treatments, large industries have developed with products claiming to solve all sorts of problems. While some of the extension of capitalism has created medications that are truly helpful, like the FDA approved hormone therapy for women, it has also led to greater inequalities between genders. There are significantly larger pressures on women to maintain physical appearance and be healthy, yet many female issues are still not well understood. Despite this, the market of medicine has created products and industries to alleviate these differences. So yeah, man, it is wow, it even bleeds over into how women get care, right? That's crazy. Uh, because, you know, all these products that people don't need is forcing on people. Let's see. Um, I appreciate that. So it says, I'm gonna read everybody. It says, my man Keith said, "Hey, Logic, positively answer. Said hi. Wow, interesting. Wow, this is interesting info. Hey, hey, hey. I see Danny. I see y'all. Positively Keith. Blessing kings and queens. Blessing to you, Danny. Most people get into medicine to help, but then they discover what the field is really about. Absolutely, Angela. Absolutely. I opened up a camp to show you live. Thank you, thank you. Hopefully it works, Danny, because I had tried that. Me and Keith tried that and it didn't work. So hopefully people can watch and learn. Blessings, Keith. Gotta catch the replay. Gotta open my room. Hey, do your thing. Do your thing. You gotta break it down. I appreciate you stopping through, Angela. So yes, that is that on that. So yeah, man, we see how capitalism, you know, it's almost dictating who is allowed to get medical care because it's going off of a supply and demand model. How can you say there's a demand for healthcare as long as people are getting older? Uh, there's always going to be a demand for healthcare, whether it's loud or silent, whether it's in the numbers or it's in real life, in person, right? And so, and again, you have those groups of people who were trampled, right? Those essential workers who, because of the capitalist structure that we live in, they couldn't even care for themselves. And the corporation also, that's something else we read. The corporation is not even considering the mass workers' uh, health. They put it to the back. It's all production. It is production. I I'm typically not a person that's a conspiracy theorist. I'm not at all. You know, in my culture, God is a scientist. And what that means is you have to show and prove what you're saying. And I hold people to uh the same standard. Show and prove to me. Make me a believer by showing me and proving it. I don't want to just feel it from my emotions. I want you to prove it. Prove what you're saying. And so when you look at this data, when you look at these articles, when you look at different things, it's like, wow, this is crazy. Um, it really makes you reassess reassess how you gauge uh, the healthcare system. And there's a book that I remember. I haven't read it. I need to get it, but I heard about it years ago. It's called Medical Apartheid. Medical Apartheid. I might put that. I think I'm gonna put that into the chat. Medical Apartheid. Yeah, medical apartheid. I misspelled apartheid. Medical. There you go. Medical Apartheid. Uh, it's a book title y'all might want to you guys might want to check out. And medical apartheid basically deals with a lot of the issues in the medical field. I think it primarily focuses on the racism that we see, right, and how it functions in a system of white supremacy. But it goes into a lot of things. When you read the synopsis on it, if you like this kind of stuff, you'll absolutely enjoy that. So you can look on Amazon or Half Price Books might have it for, and you could even, if you want to listen, a lot of people listen. If you want to listen to it, hey man, pick it up on the Audible. Pick it up on the Audible. Now, there's one more article that I wanted to read to you guys because it talked about in that first article, right? It talked about how the disparities, right? The racial disparities, how capitalism, that's one of the effects on the healthcare field, on the medical field, those racial disparities. So I pulled up, um, I got one more article for you guys. Okay, cool. Another book on each. Absolutely, Keith. Absolutely, man. You can never get enough knowledge, big brother. You know that. And so this one is racism in healthcare. And I'm listen, brothers and sisters, I'm merely just reading to you guys, just giving y'all some resources to go look these things up for yourself, right? Racism in healthcare, what you need to know. And this was written by um, it was reviewed by Alana Biggers, an MD, and written by Matthew Rees, September 17th, 2020. Racism in healthcare, what you need to know. Racial discrimination permeates the healthcare systems of many countries, including the United States. This has negative consequences for both patients and healthcare workers, leading to higher risk of illness and, in some cases, lower standards of care for people of color. POC, not point of contact, right? People of color. The COVID-19 pandemic draws attention to this. May 2020 study estimates a May 2020 study estimates that in the U.S., Black people were 3.57 times more likely to die from COVID-19 than white people. Similarly, the risk of death within the Latinx population was nearly twice that of the white population. Data from other countries revealed the same problem. Another 2020 report from Public Health England found that England COVID 19 death rates were higher among Black and Asian people than white people. The report also found that healthcare workers from marginalized groups felt unable to voice their concerns about the lack of personal protective equipment and COVID 19 testing in the pandemic's early stages. This article explores how racism affects various aspects of U.S. healthcare, including pregnancy, emergency treatment, mental health treatment, and more. Uh, and I pulled this up because this was one of those things that was mentioned in the previous articles. If you guys watch the live back, you'll see what I'm talking about. The two articles that I just got through reading or going through, and so you know, as it relates to melanated people, original people, Black people from all over the world, I wanted to emphasize this because, listen, whatever you think, if you're a melanated person, this applies to you, right? This absolutely speaks directly to you. I know when when my middle son was born, uh, there was a discrepancy. And again, it made me think back to me leaving the military. It was a bedside issue. It was one of the nurses was very rude. My wife was screaming. She wasn't screaming, but she was kind of cringing in pain. And I remember the lady. She was a little Filipino lady, and she said, "You know, cringing ain't gonna get it. That's not gonna help you." And I remember I went slap off because that's not something that you tell a person that's delivering a child. That's very insensitive. That could be deemed by some, it could be debated as being inhumane. But there again, it shows one of those microaggressions that really deals with uh, the overarching impact or issue of racism and how it manifests and how capitalism creates these type of microcosms and these microaggressions. Excuse me. So I'm just gonna skim through this thing again, go over a few things. Um, so this is how racism impacts health, and it just has bullet points. Racism has a profound excuse me, racism has a profound impact on mental and physical health. I don't have my glasses on, y'all. I'm getting old. And can make it more difficult for people to access healthcare services. In 2015, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services found numerous examples of health inequality for people of color in the U.S., including lower life expectancy. 2014, Black males and females had lower average expectancies than white males and females. Higher blood pressure between 2013 and 2014, 42.4% of Black males had high blood pressure compared to 30.2% in white males. During the same period, 44% of Black females also had this condition compared to 28% of white females or their white counterparts. Lower rates in influenza, strain on mental health. A 2015 review found that racism was strongly associated with mental health difficulties, contributing to stress, anxiety, and depression. This was especially true for Asian American and Latinx. Some of these findings are influenced by racial inequality that exists outside the healthcare system. Okay. So some of it has to do with the greater community, right? However, racism also exists within healthcare itself and can lead doctors to neglect, disbelieve, or actively discriminate against patients. The following sections look at specific ways of how this manifests. Pain treatment, right? A 2016 study found many white medical students wrongly believe Black people have a higher pain tolerance than white people. Of all the participants, 73% held at least one false belief about the biological differences between races. This is in 2016, right? Examples of these beliefs include Black people have thicker skin, less sensitive nerve endings, or stronger immune systems. The researchers note these beliefs are centuries old and that some 19th century doctors used them to justify the inhumane treatment of slaves. Absolutely. Emergency care. In addition to the limited access to trauma centers that people in predominantly black areas have, evidence suggests racial bias may prevent people of color from receiving emergency care. For example, according to Frontiers in Pediatrics, doctors in emergency departments (EDs) are less likely to classify Black and Latinx children as requiring emergency care compared to white or Asian children, admit Black or Latinx children to the hospital after visiting the ED, right? The emergency department. Order blood tests, CT scans, or x rays for Black, Latinx, or Asian children compared to white children. You really have to be an advocate for your family members. I don't think I have to tell y'all that. You really have to be an advocate. You really have to be skeptical. Whenever I get a doctor, whenever I'm looking for a doctor, I look for a few things. Number one, culture. I need to know that you in your inside of your culture can identify or you can connect with me, because the last thing I want is some shit like this to happen where either me or my loved ones come to see you to get well and you hold a bias that's ignorant and based in nothing and uh inadvertent, and because of that, ultimately because of that, I'm harmed or hurt, or ultimately forbid somebody dies, right? um I need to know a little bit about your background. If you're my kids pediatrician, I need to know, do you have kids? Do you have children? And yeah, all of it plays a role in how we pick, right? All of that. And it should play a role in how you pick. Because as you are seeing, these doctors hold biases. These researchers hold these antiquated and racial uh, thought processes that ultimately result in us being harmed and us not receiving the quality of care that we deserve. Right now, you're probably saying, what does this have to do with capitalism? Again, capitalism makes this thing, it facilitates this type of interaction, right? It facilitates it because it separates groups from getting care, right? It fosters in these racial animuses that people have, right? And it makes people numbers, right? Instead of actual persons. Now it doesn't matter what such and such things. It doesn't matter what he or she said. They're a person. They're a number. Next, right? So it makes it a little bit easier for you to disregard, for you to have these ignorant um, beliefs and these ignorant, you know, talking points, for lack of better terms, man. But this study did not look at the cause of these differences. However, the researchers say they cannot be explained by social, economic, or clinical factors that would change how doctors treat people of color in emergencies. All I know, y'all, is y'all need to make sure you advocating for your people at all costs. Yourself, your spouse, whoever, your brother, your sister, and especially the babies, especially the babies. Pregnancy. Racial disparities also affect the medical care of pregnant people and newborn babies. The term infant mortality refers to the proportion of babies who die below the age of 1 compared to those that live. Organizations often use infant mortality to measure the success of postnatal health care. Between 99 and 2013, infant mortality tended to decrease in the US. However, there were still disparities between racial groups. The following 2013 data comes from the HHS. So we see the this is the infant mortality rate, and this is the group. So black people heading we heading the stats, right? Blacks 11 in 1,000, right? 11 babies to 1,000 babies. That's how many die. Indigenous 8 to 1,000. White and Latinx 5 to 1,000. And then Asian and Pacific Islander 4 to 1,000, right? Black people also face higher risk during pregnancy. According to a 2019 study, they are 3 to 4 times more likely to die from pregnancy related causes than white people in the US. And then it goes to chronic illnesses, right? Chronic illnesses are long term health conditions that can severely impact someone's quality of life. Sometimes they can cause disability and require ongoing medical care. Mental health. This is a big one in the community. This is a big one, y'all. I'm always telling people, you know, I feel like mental health is induced by a few things. It's induced by trauma. It's induced uh, by poverty. It's induced by negate, but it's something that we really need to work on. And it's hard. If you take care of a family member who has a mental illness, you should be getting paid for it, right? Because it's truly a job, but it also leaves whoever's taking care of that family member, you have to check on your mental health because it's, again, there are professionals who have been trained, who have been schooled, trained to do that. And here you are with no training, helping out, or taking on the burden, which is commendable. But man, if you can, I know they have government programs out there that you can get help. You can get paid for that. So, man, that's just something. But nonetheless, disabilities overall, Black people experience a disproportionate amount of disability from mental health conditions compared to white people. Depression and Black Latinx people is also more likely to be persistent. Schizophrenia, that's a big one. Black males are 4 times more likely to receive a schizophrenia diagnosis than white males. MHA suggests this is because clinicians can overlook the symptoms of depression and focus more on psychotic symptoms when treating Black people. And then you have addiction. Uh, yeah, so these are all things I thought this was important to look at because when you look at uh, one of those issues that is collateral damage in a in the healthcare or in the medical field when it comes to capitalism. One of those things was inequality or imbalanced care for different ethnic groups. And we know what that means in layman's term is racism in healthcare, right? And how we get around that. So I wanted to share that with you guys. Um, yeah. So these are all different articles, man, that y'all can look at. You can look up for yourself. You know, it's nothing that is nothing that's hidden, right? It's no what do you call it? It's no pot of gold that you got to go out there and look for. It's there for you, man. It's there for you. Now I'm gonna get into some. We're gonna get into a couple of videos that will also, kind of show you guys a little bit more. You gotta be smarter than the machine, huh? Yeah, I'm gonna show you guys. Let you guys hear something. Different people's perspective on this. People talking about it. So let's look at. I'm not sure who this young lady is, but she's saying something that is very, very relative to the point that I'm trying to bring home here. She's talking about medicine and how, in the field of medicine, it is very much driven by capital, and that affects different entities within the whole structure, right? So,
Shouldn't be about money. It should be about making people feel well. But when you have a big corporation that you're employed by as a physician, and they're telling you you have to see 35 people a day to make the salary that you've come accustomed to, then that's what you're going to have to do. And so I'm not talking bad about physicians. I'm just saying that some physicians have put themselves in a position maybe, or as a society, we have allowed healthcare to put us in a position where we have these corporations that are running healthcare. And that's probably not the best way to do it. Because if you as a doctor have to pay your salary, your employee's salary, and some CEO level salary that has nothing to do with the fact that you're taking good care of patients, then we've got problems here. The sad thing about medicine is when you start making medicine, practice of medicine, into a corporate practice. So when a hospital group owns you as a physician, a hospital group owns things. Their sole purpose is to make money. So I worked for a hospital group, so I can say this. The sad thing about medicine and healthcare is it shouldn't be about money. It should be about making people feel well. But when you have a big corporation that you're employed by as a physician, and they're telling you you have to see 35 people a day to make the salary that you've come accustomed to, then that's what you're going to have to do. And so I'm not talking bad about physicians. I'm just saying that some physicians have put themselves in a position maybe, or as a society, we have allowed healthcare to put us in a position where we have these corporations that are running healthcare. And that's probably not the best way to do it. Because if you as a doctor have to pay your salary, your employee's salary, and some CEO level salary that has nothing to do with the fact that you're taking good care of patients, then we've got problems here.
yeah, I like that. She was talking about how uh, She started off, y'all heard she started out to say some physicians have put themselves in a position. Then she said, nope, maybe society has put the physicians in a position. And again, what does that mean? It means the structure, the overarching structure, which is the capitalistic structure, has now placed them inside of these rigorous confines that would force them now to, like I read earlier, to go back on their oath of having the best interest of the patient at heart to now having the best interest of the corporation. I always say America's not really a country, it's a corporation. Look at how it runs. Business is God. Business rules, business runs. So it runs everything, man. It runs it all. But listen, this will be the last this will be the last video, the last resource that I show you guys. So I want you to enjoy. And this does a bit of explaining. So we would do this. And here we go.
The number of Americans who go to emergency rooms is on the rise. And you know those visits are not cheap. One study from 2017 found they cost all of us some $76 billion a year. And with big profits like that on the table, an NBC News investigation finds private equity firms are increasingly getting involved more and more. These are firms that basically invest in businesses with the goal of making more money, generating big returns on relatively pretty short timelines. Critics say sometimes at the expense of patients. And as more of them get into healthcare, some say they're putting profits ahead of people. Vicki Nguyen has the story.
Dr. Ray Brevant has dedicated his life to service as an Army surgeon and emergency room doctor.
I took an oath to protect patients to the best I could.
After he left the Army, Brevant took a job as medical director of the ER at Overland Park Regional Medical Center in Kansas. It was 2012, and soon after, he began raising concerns.
I felt that they were prioritizing metrics over quality of care.
He says by 2014, staff was stretched thin when an expansion project doubled the hospital's capacity, and the private equity-backed firm in charge of handling staff refused to add more doctors. It's a growing complaint across the country. Doctors and nurses concerned profits are put ahead of patients as more private equity firms take over healthcare groups. Today, it's estimated over 40% of the nation's emergency departments are overseen by for-profit staffing companies, all of them owned by private equity. These Wall Street firms look for a return on their investments on a shorter timeline. And academic researchers tell us the largest profits are often in the ER. How does that affect patient safety?
What I was concerned with is having an adequate time to do the job properly. As our volumes grew and the popularity of our ER grew and our responsibilities grew, it became clear to us that my physicians were being asked to be in 3 places at once.
Brevant says that wasn't the only problem. He says doctors and nurses were expected to improve metrics by admitting more patients without adequate exam time or bed space.
You want your doctor to be the advocate for you. And if they have this business interest over their shoulder, they may not be able to make the best decision for you.
Dr. Robert McNamara is the chair of emergency medicine at Temple University. He's also the chief medical officer of a group representing about 8,000 emergency doctors nationwide. Do you think private equity firms should be in the business of medicine?
Certainly not in emergency medicine. You're having people that are seeking to make a significant profit off of healthcare.
There are laws on the books to prevent the corporate practice of medicine. Are they not being enforced?
No, they're not being enforced.
McNamara says state attorneys general rarely prosecute these types of cases, and doctors often don't speak up for fear of losing their jobs.
And these are billion-dollar companies that you're fighting. You're fighting Wall Street.
Ray Brevant was ultimately fired in 2017 after raising his concerns. By then, the company that controlled his unit staffing was no longer owned by private equity, but by a for-profit publicly traded company. In 2017, he filed a wrongful termination lawsuit against the staffing company's subsidiaries. His former hospital was not named in the suit, and the private equity firm did not respond to NBC News. A year later, the company was back in the hands of another private equity firm. Brevant was eventually awarded $26 million.
I had to be the guy that stepped up and said, this is wrong. There's a principle behind why I'm doing this.
In a statement to NBC News, the staffing company Envision Healthcare, whose unit employed Brevant and continues to be private equity owned, says in part, Envision is compliant with state laws and operates with high ethical standards that put patients' health and safety first. The concern raised by Dr. Brevant was related to a hospital policy, not an Envision policy, and predates Envision's current leadership team.
I want this system to change. I want people to believe that they can effectively change this system, even though it feels enormous.
Vicky is with us now. Vicky, it's such, I think, an important look at this issue. And you reference it in the story there that there are laws against this. 30 states have laws against what's known as the corporate practice of medicine that would, stop these for-profit companies from running medical care. So if you're a patient in the hospital, what are you supposed to do, right? What should you ask your provider? What should you do if you're worried about the level of medical care that you're getting?
Hallie, don't be afraid to ask your doctor questions like, who do you work for? Are you owned by a private equity firm? Are you owned by a physician group? There's nothing wrong with asking for transparency and knowing who is in charge. Now, if you are concerned about the quality of your care or maybe the care of a family member or a loved one, absolutely report that to your hospital board, as well as your local lawmakers. And Hallie, there may be some changes coming. In California, a lawmaker has introduced a bill there that would, in part, require medical facilities to get consent from their medical staff when they're making policies. So the idea is increase the communication between the people who are in charge and the people who are actually providing that frontline care, and hopefully patient care goes up. Hallie?
Yeah, that's I thought that was interesting. That and it supports what we read, right? It supports the data. People just being numbers, right? Not really being concerned, and also putting those doctors' oath at risk. Putting the profits over the people, right? The amount of profits over the amount of people. Again, that's something different. My motivation for doing this podcast was just, again, on this topic rather, was what I've observed and what I've seen and what I've heard from my family members, what I've heard from friends, associates, what I also experienced, right? But it makes you think like, wow, if this country, if the government would sanction capitalism to function in such a way where its citizens were not getting the best care, were not getting the doctors to uphold their oath, what else would they do to trample us, right? It's almost understandable when these things happen, when you start digging and digging and digging, and they say follow the money, not the headlines. That was one of my lies. Follow the money and not the headlines. When you start looking at what it all boils down to, you'll start to see where it goes back to the money, right? Because here it is. This hospital or this medical facility is privately owned, and so they can run it the way they see fit. Obviously, they have certain regulations, but they were doing things that were outside of the scope of the best interest for these people. So much to the degree that a man filed a lawsuit. So again, you guys, just be vigilant. Know that when you deal with the medical field, when you deal with the healthcare industry, look up your doctor, do a thorough background check on them. Make sure that the energy that you go in there and experience is the energy to your liking and that you're comfortable with it, because this is literally your life in your hands. And I've shown you different articles where the structure of capitalism has absolutely impacted the medical field in a negative way. And so, just so that we can stay healthy, we can stay aware, and we can stay cognizant of where we are, and how to continue to strive and how to continue to thrive in that location. It may be good to do a little research, but yeah, I just wanted to come and read you guys a couple articles, give you guys something to think about. Again, it's three of them, right? Because you have the food which you eat, right, which then causes you to go into the medical industry, and then once you get into the medical field or the medical industry, the healthcare field, then they begin to hit you with a lot of things, right? And one of those things, the primary thing that they hit you with are pharmaceuticals. If you get cancer, they give you chemotherapy. If you have diabetes, they give you insulin, right? If you have hypertension, they give you different meds. One of them, I don't know if I read it. It said, well, I didn't play it. I saw a clip where one of the doctors, when I was researching for this, something to give you guys, one of the doctors said, we don't really deal in preventative. We deal in reactive. In other words, we don't help people. We don't teach people to do anything that will prevent them to getting into this position. By the time they come to us, they're always too late for them. And that works, right? That is all. One could say that is a grand scheme. That is a design, because one industry fuels the other one. The fuel fuels the medical field. The medical field fuels the pharmaceutical company. And so, listen. I want to shout out to some people. First and foremost, I want to shout out to Keith, my man Keith, Positively Angela, you guys, and none other than Danny Marie, right? All of these people are people that I know from fan base, beautiful people. Danny Marie has a creator elevation camp that she does. She also has a podcast that she's on YouTube. You guys can see her. I can't think of it. It's her and it's a panel of people, but it's super dope though. She's on there. But if you want to find her, it is Dan Marie. She's on Fanbase. Then you got OK Cool Camp. OK Cool. Oh, that's Keith. And I think it's the OK Cool Camp on Fanbase. You can see him there. And then Positively Angela. I want to say it's Positively Angela. I'm shouting all these. These are all content creators, you guys. And Fanbase is an app that would allow people to gain revenue in a more imminent way, right? You can gain revenue on YouTube, you can gain revenue on X, but there are stipulations that can be pretty robust and pretty lengthy before you start seeing a minor profit. So Fanbase is one that it deals in currency and economy, the economy of hearts, and hearts equal to money. You can cash out once you get to $25, and so that's my people over there. And listen, wherever you are, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you listen to me, in your car, at the gym, it don't matter. You see what I'm saying? Wherever you are, man, I appreciate you. Listen, League of Logic 7 is I want y'all to go on over to leagueoflogic7.com. That's the website. You can get a couple of my gears. You can get down with the movement. I know you guys want to, everybody likes logic. When logic is high, emotion is low. We can make better, more informed decisions, right? We can start living life in 3D. That's what it's all about. Going over, visit that leagueoflogic7.com. Make sure y'all like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Y'all can look me up on Fanbase, League with Logic 7. The name of my camp over there is League with Logic, the League with Logic camp. And man, I really appreciate you guys. But look, as Minister Malcolm used to say when he would end every speech or a lot of speeches, listen, may we all meet in the light of understanding. Peace, y'all. Thanks for coming.